Now this is very, very interesting.
Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we're looking at the highs and lows of Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Every Ghostbusters sequel has been divisive to a degree, so it only makes sense that this one would also be like Fire and Ice. We'll keep spoilers to a minimum, although we must touch upon a few plot points.
It's all dark and horny at 12 o'clock.
Number 5. Worst. Only 2 Bill Murray scenes, again. After refusing to make another Ghostbusters movie for years, Bill Murray is finally embracing the franchise, sort of. In Afterlife, he showed up for the grand finale and a throwback to Peter Venkman's ESP test.
Ready? Try this one. Take a moment.
Having been prominently featured in the advertising, we hoped that Murray would play a larger role in Frozen Empire. Once again, though, he only appears in 2 significant scenes: the climax and another callback to the ESP test. Although Murray apparently shot another scene that isn't in the finished film.
What would you have done back in the day?
I'd have showered and shaved and hit the clubs.
That's really helpful. Thank you.
We can't be too mad since Venkman does bring the laughs during his limited screen time, which is more than can be said about an extended Murray cameo in a different Paul Rudd sequel. Still, we needed more Venkman one-liners.
Is this true? Yes, it's true. This man has no dick.
Number 5. Best. The OG Ghostbusters interacting with the new team. Even if Murray is underutilized, it's a blast seeing him suit up with Dan Aykroyd and Ernie Hudson again, with Annie Potts also getting in on the action.
Let's get to work.
Can I be of any help?
William Atherton even returns as Walter Peck for another insult. Beyond the nostalgia of reuniting these actors, the original Ghostbusters play off their younger counterparts well. You can tell that Aykroyd is passionate about passing the proton pack to the next generation, with Ray serving as a mentor figure.
You the weird guy who buys strange old things?
Correct on both counts.
At the same time, Ray isn't ready to give up ghostbusting yet. It would have been nice to see Sigourney Weaver and Rick Moranis, but with this cast already being pretty stacked, we guess they aren't essential. It's a solid balance between the legends and the new class.
This different generation, they are nice people, but they're not as much fun as we are, you know that.
Number 4. Worst. Less emphasis on comedy. Modern Ghostbusters movies have struggled to balance high concepts with humor. In the 2016 reboot, everyone tried a little too hard to crack us up, with less than half the jokes hitting their target.
Hope you checked to see there wasn't a body in the back.
I don't think so. I don't really know.
You didn't check?
I mean, I was in a hurry. I checked to see if we had gas. That was more important.
Comedy took a back seat in Afterlife, although you could argue that was fitting given the film's smaller, more personal story and the grief surrounding Harold Ramis's death. With Frozen Empire, it feels like the filmmakers wanted to get back into the old-school Ghostbusters groove, but the comedy doesn't land like it did in the 1984 film.
Let's get ready. Switch me on.
There are smiles and clever references, but even with the inclusion of comedic talents like Kumail Nanjiani and Patton Oswalt, there aren't many lines people will be repeating years from now. Number 4. Best. More emphasis on scares. While comedy is a major component of Ghostbusters, people often forget that supernatural horror is another key factor.
Get her!
From the demonic dogs to the ghost nanny, the first 2 movies were full of moments that creeped us out as kids. Yet it was the kind of thrill that we got from going out on Halloween. Afterlife brought these darker aspects back, and Frozen Empire continues to deliver the scares without skimping on the fun.
It's the power to kill by fear itself.
Like, literally scared to death?
Young viewers will gleefully cover their eyes every so often, and while adults probably won't jump out of their seats, the film is draped in an eerie, appropriately cold atmosphere that 80s kids will appreciate. With so many family movies playing it safe nowadays, we're glad Ghostbusters hasn't lost its edge.
In this one, the scary stuff is genuinely scary.
Number 3. Worst. A Frozen Heart. Ghostbusters Afterlife was a surprisingly emotional legacy sequel, culminating with a touching tribute to Harold Ramis. With Ivan Reitman passing away shortly after that film's release, we expected Frozen Empire to have another tear-jerking sentiment. While Frozen Empire is dedicated to Reitman's memory, his presence isn't felt here like Ramis's was in the previous movie.
I'm sorry. I didn't believe you.
I should have called. I miss you, my friend.
The family dynamics that drove Afterlife are still present, but they aren't as fleshed out, with the Spanglers having to share screen time with several side characters. We wouldn't say the film was made without heart, as this franchise clearly means a lot to director Gil Kenan and co-writer Jason Reitman. There just isn't a strong or consistent emotional core that'll lift your spirits from start to finish.
Overruled.
Sustained.
Thank you.
Do the weird guy by Strange Old Things?
Number 3. Best. The large-scale set pieces. Although Summerville, Oklahoma provided a refreshing change of scenery, we're glad to be back in the Big Apple.
For the first time in New York history, people froze to death in the middle of July.
The New York backdrop emphasizes that this is a bigger story, with the action and spectacle naturally being upped too. We open with an invigorating car chase that possesses the classic Ghostbusters charm, while also incorporating modern technology like drones. As far as large-scale set pieces though, there isn't anything as iconic as a giant Stay-Puffed Marshmallow Man or a walking Statue of Liberty. Once we get to the titular Frozen Empire though, it is a chilling visual marvel, with an intimidating threat for our heroes to go up against. The effects don't upstage the characters, which is where our main investment lies.
And we are the only ones equipped to fight back.
Number 2. Worst. A slow burn to the Frozen Empire. While the film builds to hell on Earth freezing over as promised, much of what we see in the trailer is reserved for the third act. To get to the titular Frozen Empire, we have to sit through a lot of exposition that's more confusing than engaging.
Ever since you brought in this orb, strange things have been occurring. You think it's commanding the other spirits?
To be fair, the first movie also had a lot of complicated, borderline bonkers lore. Even if you don't follow everything about Gozer and Zool though, the original Ghostbusters always held our attention with its humor and endearing characters.
Ray, when someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes!
Here, Frozen Empire takes itself a tad too seriously, and while the characters are immensely likable, there's one too many of them to keep track of. The climactic payoff is satisfying, but getting there can sometimes feel like watching ice melt.
That orb is prophesizing to bring about the end of humankind.
Number 2. Best. The Inventive New Ghosts. In addition to returning favorites like Slimer and the mini Stay Puft Men, there are a few new creative ghosts for the team to bust in Frozen Empire.
He's cute.
Although some get more screen time than others, they're all given cool designs that range from menacing to merchandise-worthy. These ghosts supply the film with a Saturday morning cartoon quality, and we mean that as the highest compliment.
Could be looking at a full-bore army of ghosts.
At times, Frozen Empire took us back to watching the real Ghostbusters, which could go to places the live-action movies couldn't due to the technical limitations at the time. There are no limits now, however. Yet the most interesting ghost is also the most human, with Emily Allen Lind turning in a breakthrough performance as the fiery Melody.
I will say that it's going to be very surprising and unexpected. So, all right. I'll give you the mystery there.
Number 1. Worst. Phoebe's dumb decision. Between Afterlife and Frozen Empire, McKenna Grace's Phoebe is probably the most consistently good element, except for one scene.
Get away from her!
Faster than you can say convenient plot device, the Ghostbusters invent a machine that can separate a spirit from its physical form, essentially allowing the living to temporarily become ghosts. Although this is an intriguing idea, it doesn't play a major role until one scene that unfortunately requires Phoebe to uncharacteristically act stupid.
Is something trying to get out?
Many things.
We get that she's going through teen angst, and even the smartest people can have lapses in judgment, but we didn't buy that Phoebe would make a decision this reckless, or that the research center wouldn't have better security. While Phoebe redeems herself afterward, it's hard to swallow how forced this moment feels.
What are you doing?
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Best. Phoebe and Melody. Despite our issues with that last scene, everything else surrounding this ghost and Ghostbuster provides a much-needed spark. As we saw with Egon in Afterlife, not every ghost is a nuisance. Some have unfinished business. Frozen Empire evolves this idea with Melody, who develops an absorbing friendship and maybe more with Phoebe. We do wish the film had gone further with this relationship and expanded Melody's role. We like Kumail Nanjiani, but the film could have cut out his character and made Melody the Fire Lord. Missed opportunities aside, the chemistry between these actresses couldn't be sweeter, taking the franchise to places it hasn't explored before. In their dynamic, we see the potential for a great Ghostbusters movie in what's ultimately a hot and cold one.
What is the plan?
We're the Ghostbusters. We stay and fight for this place.
What did you think of Ghostbusters Frozen Empire? Let us know in the comments.
Can I tell you something else?
What?
Buster makes me feel good. It makes me feel good.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.